Hey, my name's Adam Saenz. I am a licensed psychologist, and I am here to talk to you today about social emotional learning. And specifically, there are four relationships that you need in your life and that I need in my life that will help us live emotionally intelligent lives. So, we're going to talk through specifically what social emotional learning looks like in the context of stress, and how can we practice SEL skills to help us find peak performance. So let's jump right in. Here we have where the title of this talk is just harnessing the power of stress. And again, it's an application of social emotional learning. So what is emotional intelligence? Well, there are five aspects really. And this is sort of coming off of Castle's website, Collaborative of Academic Social and Emotional Learning. So on the left-hand side of that equation, we see self-awareness and self-regulation. That's the me part of SEL. And then next to that, you see other awareness and interpersonal skills, and that's the U part of SEL. And when all of those things, those four things are working together as they should, that equals effective decision making. And another way to say that effective decision making is that it equals peak performance. So I live the best version of my life when I'm aware of myself and I'm regulating myself, because that centers me so that I can have empathy for you, and then I can have social skills to connect with you, and we can become a good relational dyad, and that makes good decision making. It makes the best version of us. So I'm super excited about my book. It's called The EQ Intervention, and the curriculum associated with that is the Heart Smart Classroom. So my colleagues at A&M, Texas A&M, and my colleagues in clinical practice have been working with SEL in schools, and the book is just about the work that we've been doing. And the most important thing, in my opinion, when we start talking about SEL strategies, is that the most effective programs have to start with adult SEL. So I think of it this way: I can't teach trigonometry unless I know trigonometry. I can't teach a five-paragraph theme unless I know how to write one. I can't teach SEL. I can't teach emotional intelligence unless I have an internal working model of SEL and I'm using it. So in essence, I become a living curriculum. So as the slide notes there, when we as adults apply SEL strategies in our lives, we are living out the intervention for the kids. The SEL intervention is not a curriculum, it's not a book, even though we have those. It's actually the lives that we live. So that's a key premise here, is that if we're going to do SEL well, it's got to start with the adults. So let's go back to the EQ map. We're going to focus on the left-hand side of that, on the me part of SEL, self-awareness and self-regulation. So for me to live an emotionally intelligent life, I've got to know myself and I've got to regulate myself well. So the question is, well, what about myself do I need to know, and what about myself do I need to regulate? Three main areas. Number one is your climate, the personality. That's pretty. Your personality is pretty stable over time, just like climate. Second one, your emotions, and those can change just like the weather, from day to day, from moment to moment. And then the third one are storms that come up, and that's your stress. And for today, we're really going to be focusing on that third piece of it. So again, super excited about the work that our clinical and research teams have been doing. We created an online measure, a personality measure, that looks at those three things. It's what is your personality style, how do you manage your emotions, and what is your vulnerability to stress. And it's called the EASEL, EASEL. And what that stands for is Educator Assessment of Social and Emotional Learning. So when we guide our teachers through our curriculum and our training, a big part of that is them understanding their personality and what are the strengths and weaknesses and blind spots and fears and biases associated with that. How do they manage their emotions, and how do they manage their stress? So for the rest of the time that I have for the next 10 minutes or so, I'm really going to focus on the stress, and I'm just giving you a little snippet of what we do in our 2-day workshops with educators. So we're going to be talking about stress, and there is the definition of stress here is it's the energy that I produce when I wonder whether I can deal effectively with a threatening situation. It's basically rooted in a fight or flight response. It's fear. So when I'm stressed, I'm looking in the environment and saying there's something going on out here that I just don't know I can deal with, right? And it may be a student, it may be a parent, it may be a lesson plan, it may be my spouse, my children, my finances, my health. my neighbors. It could be anything. And stress, by definition, is fear. So what happens when we're afraid is our body produces this neurochemical energy, mostly in the form of adrenaline and cortisol. And it's saying, hey, you're afraid. Guess what? Here's a gift of energy. You're going to need this energy to fight that thing that's scaring you or to run from it. So fight or flight. And again, whenever we're stressed out, by definition, it means we're afraid. And when we're afraid, our body starts creating this energy. So there's a relationship between stress and performance. It's curvilinear. So here we have that curve of performance. The performance is what I bring to the table, and stress is what life brings to the table. I don't want to live a life of rust out. That's me. I'm not too stressed. I'm never going to die of an ulcer in that, but I'm also not living up to my full potential. So rust out is sort of an easy life. You can call that a life of complacency, and that's just really not what we want. On the other end of the spectrum is too much stress, and then I'm burned out. And I don't want that either, because I'm not living up to my best performance. But that's me living my best life. It's when I'm managing my stress and it's keeping my performance at its peak level. That's what we're looking for. So the question is, how do I do that? How do I keep from falling down that slippery slope of burnout? And how do I keep from being held back into the complacency of rust out? Well, let's talk about these stress management behaviors. That energy that we have that we're producing because we're scared of something, instead of fight or flight, I put engage or disengage. And we can engage in ways that are helpful or hurtful. And so I'm going to talk through these strategies. And these strategies, again, are what are going to keep me in my best life. So I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, I've got all this energy in my body. If I engage by being connected to other people, by anticipating and thinking ahead, what do I need to be prepared for? Redirecting the energy, flushing out the energy through exercise, and then setting boundaries, asserting myself appropriately. Those are all examples of engagement strategies that are helpful. They make my life better. They make me more functional, and they help me interact with the world more effectively. So that's me at peak performance. I can also disengage or the flight end of the spectrum in ways that are helpful. Number one, practice self-observation. And then number two is keep perspective. Self-observation just means, what fears do I need to overcome here? What insecurities do I have that I need to work through that this thing is scaring me from? And then keeping perspective, I call that the time test. And that means, in the grand scheme of things, how big a deal is this really? And usually in my life, when I'm stressed out about something, it's not even going to be a big deal a month from now or even a week from now. But if I lose perspective, then I start to catastrophize. I start to have that snowball effect. So again, when I'm stressed out, I need to be aware of that and I need to regulate it. And if I can regulate it with these strategies, it's a win-win. I find my peak performance and I live my best life. However, I can also use that fuel in ways that are hurtful. And this leads to either burnout or it leads to complacency. Burnout is when I start attacking, blaming, criticizing others. I cause dissension among staff and just all that toxic nonsense that happens when we become the worst version of ourselves. So we're stressed out, we're overwhelmed. We've got all this energy built up inside of us. But when we start attacking and engaging in those ways, it's a lose-lose. I get weaker, the faculty gets weaker, the kids get weaker. It just doesn't help anybody. And then the second one is, so those are examples of fighting in ways that are hurtful. I can also run in ways that are hurtful. I deny, I rationalize, I can't own what I need to own. I'm apathetic, I'm just showing up. That's complacency. So when we engage and fight in ways that are hurtful, we're prone to burnout. And when we disengage in ways that are hurtful, we're prone to apathy. So I'm going to go backwards. These helpful strategies keep me at peak performance. That's me managing the stress and bringing my A game at peak performance. This leads to burnout or complacency, rust out, and that's not the best version of me. So in these last few minutes, what I really want to do is focus on that strategy, being connected, because out of all of those adaptive strategies, if I had to pick one, I would pick being connected, because that is where you get the most bang for the buck, is being relationally connected to people that can love you and support you and encourage you. So the question is, to whom should you be connected? And that's really where we're getting into the nuts and bolts of what I wanted to share with you today is these four people. This is your dream team. So this is a map of archetypes. My undergraduate degree was in English, and I still have this thriving English nerd inside of me. And these are characters that we see in the books that we read and in the stories that we tell. The hero, the lover, the jester, the everyman. They basically correspond to personality styles. And that's the menu that I'm picking from when I think about who do I need to be connected to. It's not so much like my spouse or my children or whomever. It's from these archetypes. And so let me show you the four people that I think will make our dream team. Number one is the sage. That's the person that's gone ahead of you. That they know what to do. They've fought this fight before, and they can give you wisdom and insight. So whatever thing is scaring me at work, whether I don't know about lesson plans, or there's a student I can't manage, or a colleague I don't know how to deal with, I want to find a sage, somebody that's walked this walk and they're ahead of me and they can tell me how to fight this dragon and be successful. So that's the first one, is the sage. The second one is the hero. And the hero is not so much the person that saves the day, like we think of Superman or superhero. A hero is the person that demands greatness from you, right? That's the person that's going to tell you, I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't want to hear your belly aching or whining or complaining. You are capable of great things. I want you to stand up and get on your feet and do the work, right? So we need the voice of a hero in our life. We also need the voice of a caregiver. The caregiver is the person that says the opposite. They say, I want you to get off your feet, sit down and rest a little bit, let me love you and attend to you, and make sure that you're comforted. That's the third one, is the caregiver. And the last one is the everyman. And that's the co-pilot, right? So if you think of a road trip, you're on this journey in life. The sage is your steering wheel. They're the person that tells you turn left, turn right, do this, do that. The hero is your gas pedal. They're the person that tells you to go forward. They demand you to move forward and progress in your life. The caregiver is the brake pedal. They're the ones that say, slow down. You need to take care of yourself and nurture yourself. And the everyman is your co-pilot. That's just the person that's along for the ride with you. They are there to enjoy it. They don't tell you to go left or right, fast, slow. They're just there with you to enjoy the process with you. So that's your dream team and my dream team. Most of us, honestly, if we had to pick a dream team, we'd pick four caregivers. We want four people that will just love us and pat us on the back and say, good job, you're doing well, keep it up. And we need that, but we also need a sage, we need a hero, and we need an everyman. So I want you to be thinking about, who is your sage, who is your hero, who is your caregiver, and who is your everyman? The one who will offer you guidance, the one who will demand greatness from you, the one who will nurture you, and the one that you will always feel connected to. Those are the four people that are going to keep you in your sweet spot. Those are the four people that are going to keep you at peak performance, right in the middle of that curve, that'll keep you from being burned out and keep you from being rusted out. So you need them and I need them. So in conclusion, today was about social and emotional learning. And I'm super excited about the book that's coming out in January. It's called The EQ Intervention. And love all of you for what you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being the difference makers that you are in the lives of your faculty and students and families. Please take care of yourself. Please be well. You deserve it. You really, really deserve it. So this has been the TEPSA Fast 15. My name is Adam Saenz. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Have a great winter break, and look forward to seeing you in the spring. Stay tuned for the next TEPSA Fast 15.